do that cardio on my wrist and he said shine. All these diamonds in this bitch will leave a motherfucker blind. Gotta get the feel of it, said I'm next up in line. Motivation to the city, yeah, they know that it's our time. We was waiting up in line, now the line wait for us. Brother see the hoeing nigga since he put up on them bucks. Suckers showing all their hands, but we know that it's a bluff. Real repty with them niggas finna turn the city up. We just...
I remember, I met you once. I don't know if you remember when I was getting ready for my show. I went to Nick's house. We were at a park or something like that. And
what show was that?
The Tahoe show in 15.
15. Okay.
But I was like I think I just started 8 weeks out, and I was getting ready. He had me I peaked too quick.
Nick Fine.
Yeah.
All right, rest in peace, man.
Rest in peace, Nick Fine. But yeah, he had me dialed in way too quick, and then he gave me this day cheat on 4th of July, and I couldn't lose the weight again.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that was a good time. Actually, you did the Tahoe show before I did. I did it in 17, but I did go to it in 15, I think, and that was when I saw that show, man. I was like, that's definitely a show I want to do because that setting and venue and everything was probably one of the nicer ones I'd seen. Yeah,
it's like to me, it's like the pinnacle of California. Like they treat you like really good. Yeah,
100%. I did most of the bigger shows in California, even the California State Championships and stuff, and venue-wise, and like you said, how they treated the athletes and stuff, that was the best I had seen.
Yeah. So I did the Tahoe show, and then I did this fitness expo one last year, and then I'm actually, going to cut this out. I'm doing the Tahoe show this year, and I'm done.
Awesome.
So, and my wife's first and last show is going to be the Tahoe show. Because I'm like, if you're going to do it, you got to do the Tahoe show. Like,
I agree. For the full experience, it's the best.
Because when I went to last year, it was crap. It's like they just threw it all together to make money.
It's funny you say that because I, some of those shows were real competitive, real high level. Yeah. You get out on stage with all these top athletes, and you go backstage and stuff, and it's just a dump. You're in a little like cinder block building. I remember even having to wait outside, like behind the venue before, because there wasn't any seats.
Yeah.
There. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, but that's why I just want to close the chapter, because I'll regret if I don't do it again. Like, because I didn't close the chapter.
Oh, I think that's
I just stopped prepping, and then I got married, and then I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I got married and this happened. Like, no. Yes, I got married, and then I went back and I retired. I had to close the door myself. Because I just think I'm always want to come back.
It always times. I think, and from my experience, like not telling you what to do or not to do, but I think you're doing the right thing. Right. I was in the exact same boat. I pushed it a little farther after marriage, and competitive wise, I was progressing great. Like I was doing really good, but it's hard, because they both take 100% commitment, and you can't commit 100% to two things at once. A lot of times, something's got to give, and the way I'm wired, like when I zoned in on a show, I was doing it. Like that was it, and there was times where it was a conflict at home because I'm lasered in on this.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to the last one. Like, I didn't even know we were gonna make it because like it was just I started sleeping on the couch. Like it was rough. It was just like, hey, I have to do this. This is life or death. Like I'm already 3 weeks out. Like I gotta finish this. Once I finish, it's over. But it was like that. I can only imagine what it's like for a woman, because it's death for us. Like the last 3 weeks feel like a year. Oh, yeah. So just, I'm not talkative. I don't like life right now. Like the last 100%. 3 weeks, you're just like, So I think it's cool that we're doing it together this year. I'm like, okay, now awesome. You get to understand.
Dude, this hits real close to home, because my wife and I actually did a show, not together, but she did the Fresno Classic in 2014, I think it was. It was more of a bucket list thing for her. Yeah. Kind of like what you're sounding like. And for her, it was really cool because it was after our second kid. And it was more of just something she wanted to do, and then a kickstart to just get back in shape after birth. So that was cool. And then she did that show. And then I think I was about midway through my prep when she competed. And then what did I do? Might have been the California State Championships shortly after. So I was mid-prep. So we were at different stages of our prep, but we kind of did that together, so that was cool.
Do you think the dynamics were better that you both were in the mud together versus one not in the mud?
Yeah,
and looking out of it.
We've done it both ways, and like you were just talking about, my last show, the Tahoe show, and this was kind of stupid on my part too, was I signed up for the show, and like I said, once I have my sights on it, I'm coming to win it.
Yeah.
And she had gotten pregnant with our third kid, our last one, our youngest one. And the way it timed out was I won the Tahoe show, and I think it was actually maybe the baby, our daughter came the following Saturday. So I won the show. I remember Bob Cicciarello interviewed me on stage, and he goes, you got all the momentum behind you. You're looking really good. The Nationals are next weekend. What's your game plan? And all the fans are watching and everything. I said, well, my wife's due that day, so I'm probably not doing that show,
Yeah.
And that was like I said, bodybuilding wise, it was great, but timing wise at home, I'm winning the show. She couldn't come to the show because they said the altitude in Tahoe could have put her into labor. So, everyone's congratulating me and stuff on stage after, and I'm making sure she didn't go into labor at the same time,
Yeah.
So it was kind of a selfish move, but you learn.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's hard to that's what I said. A lot of people want to be bodybuilders, but don't understand that aspect of it. It's cool if you're single, but it's the better to do while you're single, because doing it with a woman it's rough, and it's like even like doing it and she's doing it. Like I'm like, hey, do you really want to do this? Because you can't be in bed right now. It's time to go.
And I think what a lot of people don't understand is, like, I haven't been on stage. I did a guest appearance, I think, the year after the Tahoe, which was in 2018. Haven't been on stage since then. And there's I did. You
look like you're about to go get on stage, though.
Right. When I guest posed and did guest appearances, I was in about the shape I'm in right now. I'm about 215 right now, and that's roughly what I would do guest appearances at and stuff. And I could stay like this, which I have, year round, year after year, and pretty comfortably, and be a totally normal guy and do all the family stuff. There's a huge difference, though, between looking pretty good at the beach and, at the kids' sporting events and staying in shape, as opposed to top-level competitor.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, that's what I was telling her. It's like, this is not a weight loss competition.
Right.
This is not a who looks good competition. This is bodybuilding. It's like near death. Like, you really have
100%.
to. Like my mentality, especially like 8 weeks time, like, I have to die trying. So it's either because the cardio gets so intense, and it's like I was crying on the treadmill. My last prep, I was crying on the treadmill. I remember crying on the treadmill because it just sucked.
Yeah, I had to. I remember one time I took my wrist straps and I strapped myself to the Stairmaster just to
stay on.
I would stay on. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like everything in your head is telling you to stop. And I would have my son. I got a treadmill for the house, and I would have my son play Call of Duty, so someone was with me.
Yeah, I had my little things I did too, man. Yeah. And then the diet too. That was. Yeah. I mean, that's what non-competitors, there's eating clean, like which I do now. I eat very clean. Yeah. But there's eating clean and there's contest dieting. Yeah. Those are two different things.
Yeah, it's like every week something leaves, and then it's just like at the end it's just tilapia and freaking lettuce, Right. And then you still got to go to work. You still got a job to do. Yeah. You still got to be a dad. You still got to be a husband, and it's like, but. At the very end, when your family's looking at you, your wife's there, soon I remember looking at that's why I proposed to my wife. Is like after the hiccup. Like there was a hiccup during the prep.
Wife on stage. Actually,
So I didn't know we were gonna make it before. Like it was like real rough. And then I looked at her and I was like, why are we not married? Like your hair, she was smiling, she was proud. We got through that hard part and I proposed.
Yeah, I feel like if you can get through that, there shouldn't be too many things that you can't get through.
It's rough, especially like when they don't understand. Now she gets it, but that first prep, because I didn't understand. I remember Nick telling me, I remember not weighing in. And it was already hard, like to me, because I was already in shape. But I was like, yeah, this will be easy. And then it gets hard. And then it wasn't even like 8 weeks out. It was like barely starting a coach. I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like doing cardio today.
Don't matter.
So I didn't weigh in. So then he hits me up. I was like, you okay? I was like, yeah, I just didn't have time. He's like, look, I don't got fucking time to deal with this shit. Either you're in or you're out. I was like, oh.
Exactly.
And from that's all I needed. I'm like, okay, I'm in.
And that's what it comes down to, though. Yeah. I mean, look at first, second, third, fourth place on stage. I mean, a lot of times it's the difference of that one meal, that one cardio session.
Yeah, that's it.
It's who can do the most things right. Yeah. Genetics play a role, obviously, but at the higher levels, everyone's got pretty decent genetics.
Yeah.
It's who outworks who, you know?
Yeah, because really it's so easy to skip a session. You know, if you skip once, if your mind's not dialed in and you skip that one session, you can lose.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, 100%.
So it's like at least, and then you're gonna regret it too. It's like if I give my all and I lose, I'm happy.
I was just, man, you beat me to it. You know, because when I drove out here this morning, I did the San Francisco show right down here at Chabot.
Okay.
Right down the street, I think. And I think it was my third show I'd ever done. And I was, you know, I came out of the gate strong. I won my first show ever. I won the novice and the open class, actually, in Fresno. And then I went on and won the overall novice in Sacramento, I think, later that year. So I had a good streak going. So I come into the San Francisco show. I think this was maybe 2012 at the time. And in my head, you know, I was dialed. Like, I was like, man, I look better than those last two shows. I did everything I could do. I felt great. I get backstage, and there was a guy, and I remember hearing the story after, and I talked to the guy, and he was like right at pro level about 5 years prior, and then he was a military guy and getting called for duty or whatever, and he was gone out of the sport for like 4 or 5 years. Jumped back in to qualify for the nationals at this show, and I mean, he looked like a pro, and he went on to get his pro card right after that show. But you know, we were backstage, and I just look at this guy and go, he's a whole nother level, which I couldn't do nothing about, you know. But I wasn't. I mean, I knew I was the best I could have been at that show. If I would have not done everything I could, and he would have beat me, I took second at that show, and you know, I would have had a hard time with that. But I was just like, you know, he's a different level than me, so I was totally okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, once you give it your all, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
You know, and get better.
Yeah.
Is there, so you did the California Pro, right?
It was amateur pro at the time, yes. Yeah.
Was that, so, because how come you never, is there a reason why you never went for your pro card? Because wasn't that the national qualifier? What did
you know what?
Okay, let's get into that.
So, coming off the California Pro,
Right.
I was heading that direction right then, and I remember talking to a couple of the judges and stuff. But I won the heavyweight class at the California Pro. I want to say I was like 206 on stage. I wasn't very far into the heavyweights.
Right.
And I just remember talking to some people saying, realistically...
And just so people understand, light heavy is 194.
198.
Heavyweight, 198. Okay, 198. And then after 198 is heavyweight.
Right.
Okay.
So I was barely...
What's the max, 225?
224 and a half. 198 and a half is the light heavyweight cutoff, and then 224 and a half, I think, is the heavyweight cutoff. And that was my first show as a heavyweight, and I wasn't very far into it as a heavyweight. Like, I was 6 pounds or whatever into it as a heavyweight. Talked to a couple of the judges and stuff, and they said, you know, your conditioning is up there with the best of them. But honestly, at the national level, there's going to be guys in your condition at your height that are squeezing into that class at 224 and a quarter. You know? So you'd have to be a little bigger to really make some noise at the national level. Said, all right. So I thought, all right, I'm going to give it one more run, bulk up a little more, diet down, see where I look. And, you know, like I said, I got ready for the Tahoe show. And I don't know if it was just a personal thing or genetics or whatever, but I pushed it, you know, as hard as I could. But I also liked... in the back of my head, even like Matt would tell me he'd want to see me, you know, closer to 240, get up over 240. And I think
for contest prep or
in the off season.
Okay.
And I mean, and metabolism too. I've always had a pretty high metabolism. Like I remember even first starting with Matt, we started with kind of a off season diet, and we were hoping to start making the scale go upward. All right, we'll try this for a week, you know, touch base. Hopefully we'll see a pound or two up, and I'd be like a pound or two down. And we just kept increasing. But I got up to like 233 or 234, I think was the heaviest. And I always stayed in pretty good shape, but even then when I dieted down for that Tahoe show, I want to say I won that show at 211, which still good size heavyweight, but not quite where I thought I needed to be for a national level. And then, like I said, when I did that show, I won the overall. I had the momentum going into the nationals, and again I knew a lot of the judges by that point and talked to them, and I got honest feedback from them. They said, you know, you'll be competitive at the nationals. I'm not saying you're gonna go win your pro card, but you're not gonna go up there and make a fool of yourself. You can be in the mix for sure.
Yeah.
And if So I had that mentality that I wanted to, but at the same time, I was right in the same boat you're in right now. And I was kind of, if I want to do this, I'm coming to do it.
Yeah.
And I was kind of at a fork in the road where, you know, if I want to do this and be competitive, I got to laser in even more so than I already am. And it's already kind of conflict at home. And then the other thing that really opened my eyes, both at the California State Championships and the Tahoe show, the higher the level, the competition, when I'm backstage and winning these shows and stuff, I'm the only one back there with the family, you know, and works a normal job and stuff. I'm kind of starting to realize, like, you know, I don't know if I can be the level I want to be and maintain the normal lifestyle I kind of have outside of bodybuilding. I was kind of a rare breed in that aspect, you know, like, you know, not a lot of people had a wife and kids and a normal job. A lot of them were trainers or something in the fitness industry, which I didn't at all. You know, I worked a totally same job I'm working now.
It's harder.
I mean, you know, funny story on that Tahoe show. I was pretty new with PG&E at the time. Didn't have a ton of sick or vacation, and financially, I had my third kid on the way, so I was trying to work every hour I could work and not ask for a lot of time off and stuff. And I actually worked a night shift the Thursday night. Got off at like 6 a.m. My buddy came and picked me up at home, drove me to Tahoe, won the show. Like, I think I was back at work Monday. Like, I didn't take any time off or nothing. So it was a different lifestyle than most of the competitors were living, for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't. I mean, because it's a highlight reel. Like, even from, like, so you just tell me all that. I remember seeing you in 2015. I thought you're the man. You know, you still are. Like, I see what you're going through, but, like, it's like, to me, you had the momentum. You had the popularity. It seemed like a lot of people liked you, you know, and it's like you had everything that was in the mix.
I wouldn't say a lot of people liked me, but I had a niche in the sport that I think a lot of people didn't, because I was pretty normal guy outside of bodybuilding. Where a lot of the bodybuilders were, you know, they were a bodybuilder. They worked at a gym. They did diets for people. Like, I was a bodybuilder in the gym. Outside the gym, I was like coaching baseball or whatever, like totally normal.
You're just growing into that field to where it's like, you know, then you see what's like how complicated it was for you, you know, because we just see the highlight reel, like, oh, it's easy, I want to do it, but like, man, we're on the verge of losing shit. Like,
well, that's the social media.
We're on the verge of like
everything.
Yeah,
social media is a highlight reel, basically.
Yeah,
you know? You see all the good, and you don't necessarily always see the bad.
Because that's all you hear is guys I want to grow. I mean, do you really know what it takes? Like, just be happy. If you're not willing to sacrifice everything, you know, just be happy with what you have.
Yeah.
That's the truth, because you're going to really, to me, it causes like animosity in life. You know, oh, I could have been like, no, you got to be the best version that you can be. And sometimes, like, even this is my last one, and I'm happy to retire. Like, you know, I guess you would call it retire. I'm just happy to close that door, but I closed it on my own.
Yeah.
Because like,
and I feel like I kind of did the same. At the time, I wasn't so sure of that, but looking back, you know,
yeah, absolutely.
I never really had every single show. I wanted to come in 110%, but long term, I don't think I ever had a time where it was like, I want to be a pro bodybuilder. That wasn't really my drive. Of course, like I said, I wanted to do the best I could at every show, but I never pictured myself like doing that for a living. You know,
what did you think? Like, what got you into bodybuilding?
So it's kind of a weird story. I joined the gym in Antioch when I was 14 years old. The day you could turn 14 was the youngest you could be, and my dad's always been, you know, real consistent in the gym. He still is to this day, and family was always real consistent in there. So I remember we were talking about it a little before I turned 14, and for about 2 months in the garage prior to being 14, my dad had me out there training, kind of getting the feel for everything, make sure it's something I was really interested in before they went and signed me up. And I signed up the day I was 14, and it just, man, right from the gate, it just, I was just intrigued by it. And I got lucky enough to train at probably the last of the real hardcore, like old school type gyms.
Yeah.
And everyone in there, not necessarily, I mean, there were some great bodybuilders, but athletes, everyone in there was just hardcore in some way. I mean, triathletes, everything you could think of, everyone was just in there. It was like the total opposite of kind of what you see in the gyms now where everything's kind of acceptable and don't push yourself too hard. It was like Metallica playing, people just going hard, and so that was kind of what was normal to me right from the gate. And I just loved it, man. It never left. Like, it wasn't a fad. I saw a lot of people would go in the gym before summer to tighten up or lose some weight. Like, I never really had that. I'm just doing this because I got to. It was always because I wanted to, you know. And then the bodybuilding thing, I had some family that was bodybuilding. There was a lot of competitors at that gym, and I was always totally intrigued by it. Like, I read the magazines front to back, but I never really had any thoughts of competing myself. I just loved the lifestyle and stuff. And it was finally like I was probably 25, 26 at the time. I was training in Brentwood at In Shape. I'd bought a little townhouse when I was like 21 in Brentwood. And finally, the commute was just getting too far to go back and forth to Antioch. Trained at In Shape, and it was probably the closest thing I had seen to that Antioch gym. It was still pretty hardcore, a lot of bodybuilders and stuff. And kind of a mentor, best friend of mine, he'd seen me training and stuff, and he goes, "You should do a show." And I was always kind of giving him the, yeah, someday, you know, when everything's lines up, you know, I might want to do that someday. And I always trained like a bodybuilder. I always kind of ate what I thought was like a bodybuilder. And finally, you know, we'd talked about it over and over. And I pulled into the gym one day. He goes, "Hey, my wife and I got you the papers for the Fresno Classic." And it was kind of like, all right, I'm going to, you know, I was kind of put on the spot. And then
he signed you up or just brought you a flyer?
He brought me the flyers.
Okay.
And then I ended up, you know, he didn't peer pressure me into it, but I was kind of, you know, the pressure was on me. Yeah. And once I committed, then I was like, all right, I'm doing this. And I went into that show, you know, just with his guidance, which he was a good local competitor, but neither of us were crazy knowledgeable at the time.
Yeah.
And I took, you know, what he had to give me, and I just kind of my own knowledge, and I probably took everything he told me to do and pushed it even harder, because just at that age, more was better on everything. If he said do an hour of cardio, I'd do an hour and 10, you know, just because I wanted to be that much better, which, you know, you live and you learn. But I came into that show like 185 or 186, I think, and I was just shredded to the bone. I mean, my face was sucked in, drawn in.
Is that light heavy or middle?
It was weird. At the Fresno Classic that year, in the novice, they only had light, middle, and heavy. So it was middle in the novice, and then in the open they had light, middle, light, heavy, and heavy. So I think it was light, heavy in that class. But yeah, I ended up, like I said, I took first in both classes. And but like I said, you know, you kind of live and learn, because I remember I went out and ate like a normal human the next day, and by like Sunday or Monday, I was like 195 and looked just as good. Just didn't look like a skeleton. I was just as lean, but a lot more muscle. So I think probably the last 10 pounds I pulled off was just me being young and stupid and cutting water and doing 4 hours of cardio and stuff just to think I could get that much leaner, but I was probably losing more muscle than anything.
And you did that without a coach?
Yeah. It was just a good friend of mine who had done one show, I think, himself at the time, and just kind of picking everyone's brain at the gym who had competed.
And that shows how good work ethic and determination can push it, you know, because going into a show without a coach is...
Yeah, and like I said, I'd been training. I had a really good base because I'd been training real hard since 14 years old, so I had a little margin for error. Like, I had a lot of muscle on me already by that point. If I wouldn't have, I probably would have withered down to nothing. But like I said, after I ate a little normal food and stuff, a few days later, I was like, man, I wish I would have came into the show looking like this. But you know, you live and you learn.
So your last show was 2017?
2017 Tahoe show, yep.
And since 17, 18, 19, 21, about 7 years later.
Holy cow.
How do you maintain your physique now? Because you still look like you're about to go step on stage. So, like, what's the diet like for you now? I know you train daily, but is it like a 90-10, 90 clean, 90, the same basic rice, chicken, and...
Yep, 100%. You know what, and I...
Do you cheat? Have a meals?
Scheduled, I do, yeah. But I honestly, the diet's never really been... I don't have any reason to diet right now. Like, I could go out and eat a cheeseburger right now. Whatever. It's just, I feel good the way I eat. And I kind of know exactly what to eat and how much to eat to kind of stay right where I'm at right now, which I'm pretty comfortable with, So
you still carry your meals around and
I
you
prep
eat
everything
5 times at least minimum?
Yeah, I'd say 5 to 6 times a day.
Nice.
I prep everything ahead of time, and not just for the bodybuilding purposes, just because, dude, my life's on a real strict regimen with the kids stuff. I mean, like I said, I got off work this morning. I shot out here, trained at that gym, doing this. Go home for a couple hours. Kids got, son's got baseball, daughter's got dance. Back on night shift tonight. I mean, like I don't have time to just go home and prep a meal here and there. So whenever I have a little hour or two, I'll prep everything for the week, and I don't even have to think about it.
Yep.
It actually, for me, it'd be harder to cheat than to eat a clean meal because I'd have to go out of my way to do something. When I go to work and stuff, I bring whatever food I bring with me, and that's all I have to eat. So there ain't no other options. No thinking really. And
it seems like your kids witnessing that has pushed them to be great because they're doing some impressive things. Like, how old is your son? 10?
9.
9, and he's like a professional motocross biker. He seems
BMX.
BMX.
Dude, it's funny you say that because I get, my wife and I both, we get that a lot. Like we said, Facebook's kind of a highlight reel a lot of the times, and I try my best not to be like, oh, look at me, but I'm proud of them,
Yeah.
And a lot of times, they'll win a big race, or my daughter, our middle daughter, she is an absolute star in gymnastics.
Yeah.
Like she's, I mean, I don't like to brag or nothing, but she's next level.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of times.
I mean, it's not bragging; it's being proud. And to your credit, I've watched it from the years since before. I've always followed you, so I've seen the efforts and how hard you guys
have worked. I get it a lot on Facebook, and my wife does too, where it's like they'll win something, we'll get congrats, mom and dad, keep up the great work, mom. And it's not us. Yeah, it's them, man.
Yeah.
Like, obviously,
your son's in the gym squatting.
Yeah, we did legs yesterday, man.
I see that.
Yeah, they, we give them all the tools, and I just feel like that's my job as a parent. If we're gonna sign them up for these sports and stuff, and expect them to be competitive and stuff, we got to do our part too.
Yeah.
But I've never, and I can honestly say, like, we've never pushed them to do anything. I mean, I'm leaving Thursday morning for Bakersfield. He's racing in the BMX Nationals Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And even up, I see a lot of, he's at a pretty high level. He was third in the state a couple weeks ago at the state champions, or the state race. And I mean, at that level, that some of the parents, you can totally tell, even at 9 years old, the kids are doing it for the parents,
Yeah.
Or some of the kids look like, maybe mom and dad are making them do this and not letting them do other things.
Yeah.
I asked, just last weekend, hey, bud, are we going to go to the Nationals or what? Let me know. I'll book the hotel if you want to go. If not, we'll, no pressure. And I think that's a big part of the reason they've excelled the way they have, because they don't have any pressure on them at all.
Yeah.
But if they want to push it, I'm going to push them as hard as they want to go.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think that's good that you let it be a choice because I put my daughter in dance and she did it for a while, and then after her recital, she said she didn't want to do it no more. And I kind of was like, huh? I thought you loved it. She's like,
that,
and she kind of backed down. I let her. I'm like, okay, whatever you want to do, let me know and find your way. But I feel like I can understand why parents would push because I was like, huh? Like, we just got started. We just did a recital. She's like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, my son plays baseball, and you see it a lot in the youth baseball too, man. It's a lot of dads who maybe didn't take it as far as they wanted to, and their son better play now, But at the end of the day, any anyone who's going to get to a real high level, they're not going to get there because their parents pushed them. They have to have that drive to want to.
Right.
There's going to come a time when they're 13, 14, 15, whatever, and they can make their own decisions.
Yeah.
And if it's not coming from their heart, they're not going to keep excelling. But funny story, like you said about the dance stuff. We did the same thing. We have a 5-year-old and a just turned 7 last week daughter. And when they were young, we signed them both up for the dance class, right?
Yeah.
Our little 5-year-old loves it. Like, she's awesome, and she's excelling at it real quick.
This is the one that's in gymnastics?
No.
Yeah.
So the one that's in gymnastics, she hated it. She did not want nothing to do with it. She'd get out on stage, kind of freeze up, didn't like the crowd, nothing. So, I mean, they're both raised in the same household, same parents, everything.
Yeah.
And the little one, she's done a couple dance recitals, competitions this year so far. She's won them both. I mean, she's really good. She's on the competitive team. She's 5, and I think the next youngest girl is like 8 or 9 or something.
Okay.
And some of them are up, teenagers. I mean, but she's doing great. And the middle one don't want nothing to do with it, but she's a star of gymnastics. And then the thing with the kids too that I'm kind of most proud of more than anything is that they've all kind of chosen their own things. And like my son in BMX racing, I've never raced a BMX bike in my life, so he's learning all. I mean, I'll push him like legs and stuff that I can help with. I know agility stuff's going to benefit him, and I'll watch his coaches BMX and stuff, pick their brains a little bit, but it's not living vicariously through me in any way, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's good because that happens a lot where you're gonna do this because I didn't get to do it. I'm gonna coach you. We're gonna have this master plan.
No,
and
I'm never.
The kid kind of hates it,
I think a lot of parents. I even actually heard it from a parent. I think it was this past week about their daughter needs to start getting more focused because she needs to get a scholarship, and I just don't think that's the right attitude to put that pressure on your kids and stuff. You know?
I agree. I mean, I think even like you said, 14, 15, they're going to know what they're going to want to do. Right. And it's like all that work. Let's say you force them to do it. By 14, 15, I don't want to do it no more.
Right, 100%. And you see it over and over and over.
And it's
like,
wait, it's versus like, it's better to let them, because like I try to put my kid in sports, and he just told me he signed up for soccer on his own. He brought me paper and like on his own. I'm like, oh, cool. Because like they'll let you know. My son will be like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, hey, you're forcing me to do something I don't want to. Okay.
Yeah.
So when he brought me the form, I just need your signature. I'm like, oh, and he took control of it himself because I guess, people are around him and they're doing it. And it looks fun. And I think it's about having fun, not making it a job. Because like, you're going to do this, you're going to be a pro, like just have fun.
And have you seen those statistics on like how the amount of kids, like say, any given sport, it's like 0.000 something kids end up being pro. So these parents that are, living on that, they're setting themselves up for failure. It's like kind of the odds of their kid being a pro is like probably winning the lottery.
Yeah.
So, It was a real eye opener for me one time is my son plays baseball and his birthday's in July. And we had a birthday party at our house. And this was probably his 7th birthday. So I mean, real young still. And it was middle of baseball season, so of course he invites all his baseball friends over. And at 7 years old, I mean, how good can your kid be at baseball, right? Like you can't tell if the kid's on his way to the majors or not.
Yeah.
We had, we got a normal house, trampolines and bike ramps and normal kid stuff, and all these, parents are over there. Oh no, I don't want little so and so jumping on the trampoline. He can't get hurt for baseball. He ain't riding that scooter. No, not my kid. And it's like, man, let them be kids.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy sometimes.
It does.
I mean, they're going to look back, when those kids are 20, 25 years old and go, man, you never had any childhood because we thought you were going to make it in whatever sport. And I'm sorry, it didn't pan out that way, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, parenting is one of those things that everyone has to experience it themselves and do the best that they can. Yeah. Because people think, like, even like I see people telling them, don't give kids candy in this. I'm not like that. Like, I'm like, they'll figure it out. Like, I let my son kind of control his own diet. And recently, like a month ago, he's like, I want to eat cleaner. My stomach hurts. I'm like, okay. So I make him meal prep. He has turkey and stuff. And, they kind of feed off of us. So instead of forcing him to eat clean.
Just lead by example, and they're going to pick it up.
So now he's like, I want meal prep. He's meal prep for dinner. My daughter, we both eat meal prep.
That's probably like the number one like stereotype or question I get all the time. Oh man, do you let your kids eat junk food and stuff? And it's like, all I try to do with the kids, food wise and stuff, is just teach them healthy habits. Like, hey, you're not having candy for dinner, but eat your good food, and if you want some dessert or whatever after, cool. Like, you got to let them live and be normal kids. I mean, but I think, like you said, the number one thing they're going to learn from is you. So if you're living a good, healthy lifestyle and they like how, you're still active and you're still in shape, they're probably going to follow that.
Yeah, and they're going to make the choice.
I know I did. I mean, my dad's 60-something years old, and I mean, he's still as active as me or more. So that was a big part of me always eating clean and stuff too.
It just kind of goes. I mean, bad habits too. So it's like
Right.
the bad habits we pick up. You know, I started drinking young because my uncle was an alcoholic. I used to live with him. He used to drink beer every day. I'm like, that's what you're supposed to do. You know, so whatever habits that we instill in ourselves can be passed down to our children. You know.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And actually, I was lucky on that end. I had the opposite. I don't think I ever saw alcohol in my house ever growing up, and so and I don't have nothing against people who drink, but we've tried to kind of carry on the same thing with our kids. It's like, I don't want you to look down on people who do drink, but it's just not something we're gonna promote either. Yeah. Exactly.
Because you when the kids see it young, I think for me, I seen it young. I went down that path young, you know, and I think that, you know, not having alcohol in my house, like we don't have the alcohol in the house anymore. I think my kids will wait. Yeah. You know, because I'm like, no, we don't do that. That's my dad doesn't do it. But if it's like, dad does it, and then the friends are doing it, it's normal.
100%. They pick up on, and I have to watch myself with that too. Like, my son's 9. Yeah. You know, I grew up listening to like the old Bay Area rap and stuff. The other day we're sitting at the, and I'm not the best about it, you know, but we're sitting at the dinner table or whatever, and he says something off of like a Filthy Rich album or something that I was listening to in the car, and my wife's just looking at me like she's gonna kill me. Yeah. But and I agree, like, you know, I got to be better about stuff like that. But you don't think they're always listening. I wasn't even paying attention, but they pick up on stuff. You know?
I mean, but it's hard, like, to not.
No, and I don't want them to be sheltered on the other end either, you know. But at the same time, I should probably not have a 9-year-old listening to Filthy Rich either. So.
Shout out to Filthy Rich.
Yeah, for real.
Well, you know, it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto. You're like, everyone was talking about the game in school, so my son wants to play it, and I'm like, all right, but you have to understand that it's fake. I need you to understand that it's fake, it's not real, and you should never do something like that. This is just for your entertainment purposes. You know, I'm like, go ahead. You know, because like I feel like if I don't let him do it, he's gonna go find a way to go do it. If I don't let them experience life, like I feel like that they're gonna. That's why I would do it. I'm like, oh, you don't want to let me? I'll find a way.
Agree 100%. Like I think it all comes down. At the end of the day, the parents are responsible for everything, and you know, like the video games and stuff. I'm not a huge video game fan in general for the kids. Like I got nothing against, you know, it's raining outside or it's nighttime or whatever, you want to play some video games, but I've seen it firsthand, you know, like in our neighborhood, kids will move in, awesome little kids outside playing every day, coming over every day. Say they turn 8 or 9 or whatnot, mom buys them a PlayStation for their birthday. You don't see them again. Yeah. And then when you do see them, they're different, man. Like their social skills are kind of down. Yeah. So, like I said, I don't have nothing against our kids playing the video games or anything, but I'm definitely not an advocate for them. You know? Right.
Yeah, I think it's this neighborhood that we live in now, because I've never seen my kids play so much outside. Because I've kind of been like, I have let them play games because like a single dad, and it kind of watches your kids. Like I'm not gonna be a hip or say it like it helped me. I'm like, just go play with your device, and then I realized that it's like an addiction, and it's 100%. Like, fortunate for me, like my wife's against it. Like she's like, no, you need to go outside. Go outside first, then you can do an hour at night. I think. And it helps having a woman, because I didn't see it that way, but now that I see how addicted it can be, like it's really an addiction. Like you're on these devices all day. Now, like they go outside. Like as soon as they get home, they're outside.
And you know, our kids all do like different competitive sports and stuff, and you can totally tell the difference in the kids who are around a lot of kids competing and stuff, learn how to fail and deal with different life situations and stuff, as opposed to the ones who. You know, are on the video games and like the social skills. Right. It's night and day, man. Yeah. So I see it firsthand for sure. Yeah,
definitely is. Because I say my daughter doesn't play. She uses her imagination still. It's my son. He's really into the games, but now he's starting to go outside, and I realize that I enabled that. You know, and I have to look at that like, you know, okay, when they're younger, stop it. You know, because you can nip it in the bud. Like my daughter, I'm glad she's never really. This is boring. My son, I gave it to him young, and like he needs it. And if you take it from him, it might be a problem.
And it's not just kids; it's addicting for parents too. I mean, the social media thing. Oh yeah, I'm split on social media too. Like people like yourself who are you know, doing something positive, creating something like you're doing. I think social media has opened so many doors and opened a lot of opportunities that people before social media didn't have.
Right.
On the flip side of that, though, I think it's, just destroyed some people too,
Yeah.
man. I mean, there's, I see it at the kids' sporting events. Their kid will be up to bat, get their first hit ever, and mom and dad were staring at Facebook when it happened.
Yeah.
They're just, it's an addiction for sure.
Yeah. It's a gift and a curse.
Yep, I agree.
I was off social media for a couple of years. I got back on to do Boys2Men.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I got to try. I got to do something, and
I did the same thing, kind of right after that Tahoe show.
Yeah.
Actually, I was kind of at a fork in the road, and I knew if I just, because my whole social media, my whole purpose of social media back then was just bodybuilding, competing, right. And I didn't, and like I said, I wish I would have, if I could rewind the clock now, I would have jumped on a little more from a business standpoint, like you're doing. I had some opportunities with stuff like this and different online coaching and stuff, and I didn't really capitalize on it. I was laser focused on that first place trophy every show, but my whole thing on social media is I just followed the other competitors, kind of taunted the other competitors. Like it was for bodybuilding. So I figured if I'm not going to compete, I should probably just get rid of this thing, because it's kind of pulling me that direction if I just stare at it every day, So I was off it myself for a little while, just for that reason.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary though, like the negativity that's on there, and the comparison. Like you compare yourself. It's so easy to compare
fake.
yourself.
A lot of it's fake.
Yeah.
Like you said, you see family down the street that has all these happy, great pictures, and behind the scenes they're getting divorced. It's like a lot of it's not what you see.
Yeah. But it is a powerful tool. If you can control it,
it's changed the world. It's changed the whole world.
Yeah. I mean, just even this, like just something like a podcast, you would have to work on a radio to be a personality, or to even bodybuilding. Like think about the guy. If you weren't big enough to be in a magazine, you weren't seen. So like we only know about the great bodybuilders who are big enough to be in those magazines on Venice Beach. There's probably 100, 200 other bodybuilders that just didn't make the cut.
Well, and I think health wise too, that's had a big effect on the bodybuilding community, because a lot of these guys in the magazines, they diet down and look great, competition ready for a magazine shoot, and they could kick back for a few months, because now they're on social, they got to keep that social media up 365 days a year.
Yeah.
So it forces them to redline that body all year long,
Yeah, because no one waits for you. If you miss something, it's like just like we're talking about. It's like a drug, Yeah. And if you miss something, then you see your views go down. Yeah. This happens.
There's a new person.
Someone's waiting. Like soon as he stops. Soon as he stops.
100%.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm interested to see what happens next, because like this is intense. Like just how it's cool, because we're born in the 80s, so we've seen it all develop. I think it's called The Forthcoming. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like we are the heroes, because we know what it was like, we know what it's supposed to be like, and there's a crisis. So it's like it's just interesting to see what's to come next from this technology.
Oh yeah, this last all the COVID stuff and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is just it's new. Everything's new.
Yeah.
You don't really know what's coming.
Yeah.
The workforce has changed dramatically.
Have you noticed that people don't want to work anymore?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like nobody see, when I was growing up, the working class is like inevitable. Like, you're going to have to go work a couple years just to keep the world going, Like, it was like, because before there was technology, you live in a community, it took everyone to do their part in the community. So now, there's jobs that need to be done and nobody wants to work. Nobody wants, it just seems like, that's why like the podcast is glorifying workers, because I'm not saying that you shouldn't go for your dreams, but you shouldn't be broke either. Like, we have a job to do. So there's good jobs out there that you can get into and turn them into careers, or possibly learn how to do it. Like, okay, I worked at McDonald's, I learned how to make French fries. Now I have my own brand.
Yeah.
So that way you can go out and
those
get
kind of stories too, man. Those are the best ones.
I mean, the guy who made Cheetos was a janitor, I think. Like the Hot Cheetos. I'm sorry, Hot Cheetos. And he took he worked at Cheetos, and he took Canyon whatever pepper, and then brought it to the people who made Cheetos and the Hot Cheetos. He's set for life.
Oh man.
Even like the guy who did Big Mamas, like there's great stories to people who are like in bad situations or hard jobs, and then something just happened for them.
Yeah.
So it's like inspiring to know,
I love hearing stuff like that.
Me too.
That's cool.
Like it's the coolest thing. That's the best thing about the internet to me. It's not the social media. It's information.
Yeah.
I can learn about you. I can learn about this person. Like there's so many stories, and you never know. Like I truly believe everyone's next step is in a conversation, a book, a story, a YouTube video, a podcast, because we've already lived it. Someone's already lived it. So it's not like you're doing something new. You need, take pieces from each person to build your life. And like that wasn't like everyone before us had to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like even your first show, you didn't have access to online coaches. You had to figure it out.
No.
Now
not just access, but like, I was like 25 when I did my first show. I think it was maybe it was after after that San Francisco show where I said I thought I was at my best, but I still didn't beat that guy.
Yeah.
That I kind of went into the next show. I'm like, next time I get on stage, I'm gonna be that guy. Like, I don't want no one even close to me.
Yeah.
And I reached out to Matt Allen, Cyber Body Shop, and it costed a lot. It wasn't cheap, and I wasn't by any means had a ton of extra money at the time.
Yeah.
So that was a big investment for me to do that. But if I could rewind the clock, I would have done that probably 2 or 3 years prior and saved myself a lot of that trial and error.
How did you find him? You had to go to the shop, or was it online?
Mutual friends and competitors had used them, and I kind of did my homework. And at the time, Hani Randbod was the name. I mean, he still is.
Yeah. Is he really from San Jose?
Yeah. I actually went out there to San Jose and met with Matt Allen. And when I got to talk to him, basically, he was Hani's college roommate. I guess they were childhood friends. And what I was told by other bodybuilders was, Hani's working with Phil Heath and Jay Cutler and the top in the world. And Matt's going to give you pretty much the closest you can get to Hani as a normal person, like I was a normal level competitor. Yeah. So I kind of got the same philosophies, I think. And man, it was, he taught me a lot of stuff I still implement to this day. So
now it's like, all you have to do is go on your phone, put coach, and get a coach. Like, I want to be a bodybuilder. Like, you had to figure it out. Yeah, there's so many things that the internet has given us, and I just think it's fascinating.
It's weird though. It's a double-edged sword because we have more information than ever. People are in the worst shape they've ever been in too. So it's you can't.
Why do you think that is?
Laziness.
Yeah,
I think it's laziness. I think, like I said, the social media thing.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Because there's no excuse for it. I mean, we have every. There's no back in the days they didn't know a lot of the nutrition stuff and stuff they do now. I mean. It's evolved so much, and people are in the worst shape they've ever been in.
Even the cost is down. Like you say, it was a hefty investment. Now you can go get a coach online who's very started now, who has good information.
Because it's flooded. It's like I said, you can type in information and get it almost free.
Yeah,
mostly now.
Yeah. So on the same topic, like, we didn't even introduce or anything. We just been talking.
You said you like to just get it rolling.
It's never rolled this into it. I think we have that common bodybuilding and family thing going. So talking about money and stuff, like, do you have any advice on advice on money, retirement that you want to share to help someone who is either?
Well, I don't got a lot of advice on retirement because I just came from work on my way here, man.
But,
no,
I mean, but planning for retirement.
Oh yeah.
The plan for retirement.
You know what? No, in all seriousness, I definitely had some good guidance that way growing up. I think it was both directly and indirectly. Like I said, I joined that gym at 14, and there was no other 14-year-olds in there at the time. There might have been one or two that pop in with their dad or something once in a while, but I was like a legit regular 5-6 day a week member at 14. Everyone else in there was, even the kids in there were 20, 25, And I got a job there when I was 15. I wasn't even supposed to be working. They had to sign some stuff from school and everything. So I was always kind of rubbing shoulders and watching, older people and in baseball too. My freshman year, toward the end of my baseball season, I got moved up to varsity. So I made a lot of friends that were, 3-4 years older than me. So even, when I was 16, 17, 18, most of my friends and peers and stuff were in their young 20s. So I was kind of trying, financially, I'd say I was, a few years ahead of a lot of my peers. And my dad and my parents, my dad's definitely a rare breed. He's a very logical thinker. if there's not a reason for it, why you doing it type thing. And I bought a house at 21. I think I was actually 20 when I bought the place, but it was being built, and I moved it. I got the keys when I was 21, which looking back at it now, that's quite an accomplishment. You don't see too many 21-year-olds owning a house. And if it was up to at the time, if it was up to my dad, I mean, I would have done it at 18. He made me feel like, I was way behind not buying it. But I was, your typical 18-year-old. I wanted to buy rims for my car and a stereo and stuff. But I bought it at 21, and even then when I did purchase it, it was a struggle. I mean, I got in the plumbers and steam fitters union the day I turned 18, because I was how old you had to be to get in the union. My family owned a big construction company, and I had been working though since I was like 15 or 16 in the summers and stuff, and I actually got in the union when I was 18. So I was making, I don't remember dollar wise, but I don't know, say most of my peers and friends and stuff were, working at Home Depot or at a restaurant or something. I was making probably double what most of the people were. So I thought I was there, I'm like, I made it. And I bought a house, and but this was 06 when I bought that house, and that was right before the big
06 minimum wage was like $7, $6.75.
Yeah, and I'm guessing I was probably making 18 or 20 bucks an hour at the time, which at that time
was a lot.
Was a lot of money. It was enough to get me into the house, but you got to remember, this is 06. It was all the interest only loans. On paper, they didn't have to verify a lot of stuff. So I remember doing the loan. I was like 20 years old, and the guy's asking me all the questions. Hey, could you possibly get moved up to a foreman? I said, yeah. All right, we'll put you down that you're making 30 bucks an hour. Could you possibly work, this much overtime this year?
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. All right, well, we're gonna put down you make an extra 40,000 this year. Like they were able to wiggle the numbers and get me into the place. And but it took absolutely everything I had to make that mortgage payment. I was working, Monday through Friday in the plumbers and steam fitters union. I had a good friend, actually my old training partner was a manager at Home Depot at the time. He got me on there like couple nights a week, and like Sunday mornings or something. And then I was always just, trying to round up a dollar any way I could.
Yeah.
And I weathered the storm, through all the bad times when everything crashed and everything. And actually, we ended up selling that house in 2015 for a pretty good profit, and we got a pretty nice little family home now because of that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, money wise, I've always thought about the future. I'm, anyone that knows me will kind of joke I'm super frugal, like beyond frugal, probably to the extreme, but just kind of I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so I guess that's kind of was embedded in me a little bit. And my dad and mom have done pretty good. They own a few homes, a few rental houses and stuff, so I've always kind of had that to follow in,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't have any handouts either, so I definitely had to learn to make it work all the time.
Right.
And I was always, kind of a hustler. Driving out here today kind of brought me down memory lane. I remember I used to drive out here after work a couple times. I had a friend introduced me to him, and he had a clothing shop, and I'd buy a whole pallet of the knockoff Air Force Ones. It was like 5 size 6s, 5 size 7s, all the way to like 6 to 12 or something. Yeah. I'd get them for like $20 a piece or something, and sell them all around town to everybody for 40. Like I always had this little whatever I could, because I don't know, that was always I've always been pretty money motivated, I guess you'd say. And now as a father, I do pretty well for PG&E and stuff, but with all the kids' activities and stuff, I have to. I don't see how people get by on a whole lot less, because we don't have a lot of bills and stuff, and it's still a grind,
Yeah. It's inflate. Everything's expensive nowadays, and
yeah, the wages aren't going up a ton, but man, the cost of everything is going up like crazy. I've noticed that.
It's like the money stays the same and everything's more, and that's why a lot of people are leaving and going to other states. Yeah, like Texas and Vegas. And
wife and I have gone down that rabbit hole a few times, but there's, I don't know. There's pros and cons, like everything else. And I got a lot of family and stuff, and I'm pretty dialed at work, so it'd be a big a big move.
PG&E is a huge company. Is it only in California?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, not even all of California. It's about, more than half of California. They'll go up toward Bakersfield and out to like Oregon, Eureka. Yeah, it's a no, but it's a blessing for sure.
Yeah, it's a hard place to get into. So it's like it'd be a hard. Like, see, I work for the VA. It's everywhere. So it's like, but even the thing is, the money changes.
Yeah.
So like, what I get paid here is only high because it's the Bay Area.
Right. No, we've looked at that stuff too, and
It's
that
like the pay drops dramatically anywhere
you see
else.
these houses in these other states and stuff for $200,000-$300,000. You're like, oh man, we're gonna live like a king. But then your job's paying you $18 an hour too.
Yeah.
So.
It's like the only thing to really be able to move is to build something that is yours to where it pays you the same no matter where.
Right. Or
'cause-
something like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you build anything, like you have t-shirts, anything to where it doesn't matter where you go, you make the same amount of money. Because like for me to move to like Oklahoma, the pay is like $17 for what I do.
And then the other thing, I had a friend that just did that, and something he told me after he'd moved was, the mortgage is only $1,100 or whatever. It's great, but he said, we bought a car. Car's still the same price.
Yeah.
You're buying that $50,000 car on $17 an hour now instead of that $50,000 car on $40.
Your phone's still the same price. The food's still the same price. Gas is less, and then the property's less.
Right. So you gotta really run the numbers, and as much as I've seen a lot of people leave California, and I totally understand why. I have, I even saw it at work. I had a guy leave California, and it was going to be the best decision he ever made, but they were going to be set. And I remember hearing a few weeks later, like he was calling asking if there was any way he could get his job back, or that someone had gotten a resume, him reapplying or something, because it just wasn't quite what it was made out to be. So you got to definitely do your homework for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think there is scenarios where it would be a good decision too.
I mean, maybe when the kids are older, I don't think I could leave California right now, only because like if I did, the money, like it's like the money, like what she does nails, so that I don't even know. We'd have to look into it. Like, do you charge the same, like, or do people pay less in other states for nails?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't know. Cars are the same.
You guys are definitely in a good spot, though. I mean, nails are in every state, and podcasts are in every state. So I'm kind of in a little tighter spot with the, PG&E doesn't go real far, and I'm in a pretty good spot there. It's hard to leave,
Well, even with the stuff that you still got to build it. It's just like with anything else. Like it has to be built. Like you have to find a way to make money off of it.
No, I totally respect the work you're putting in and stuff though, because like I said, I've had a million ideas. I'm always running stuff like this through my head, and I've gotten real close on a lot of it. But then a lot of times it's, I do the be realistic, and it's like, I can't afford to have something not work for a couple months in the position I'm in right now. So I have to have that guaranteed, even though if it's not, necessarily my dream work I'm doing right now. I know there's kind of a probably 8 to 10 year window where, I got kids that are going to cost a lot, and, family to support, maybe once, like you said, once they're up and on their own and stuff, I'll have a little more wiggle room, but for the time being, I can't do nothing that's going to take away from what I got going right now,
Yeah, I respect that. I'm the same. It's like, for me, so I've already been 14. There's 12 more to go where you can do it early out. Everything that, if this works until 12 years, I'll be happy. Because I don't think I can retire that young. I just don't want to work there no more. Like, they'll give me my money, but like, I don't want to stop working.
Right. No,
I'll be like 48 years old. Like, why would I not want to work?
I'm the same way. I'm the exact same way.
Yeah,
I was just talking to somebody the other day, and we were kind of having a similar conversation. I was like, if I came up on a bunch of money today or tomorrow or whatever, I don't think I'd change a whole lot. Like, I mean, I would have a lot less stress, but as far as like my day-to-day life, I don't think I would do a whole lot different.
Yeah. Because it doesn't soothe that ambition inside of you.
Yeah.
Like, you have to hustle. Like, even if you have the money, some people will stop. For me, I'm like, nah, that's my kids. Now, I got grandkids to think about. Or, I would have to, like, really be complete. Like, my biggest fear is dying without being complete.
But it's hard to say because I've never been there. I've never been in a spot where I didn't have to work or didn't have to. I didn't have any pressure on me to push more. So I can't say that, hey, if I hit the lotto tomorrow, I wouldn't change it all. But I don't think I would. I don't.
You probably wouldn't work your job. I think you'd bring all those ideas to life.
Yeah, exactly.
I really think you'd start building all the, and then you'd be working 10 times as hard.
Yeah.
You know, because
no, I agree 100%.
Because a lot of ideas need money. You know, like
that's what's hard, man.
The hard thing is the money, the capital.
Yeah.
You know, like you can take one thing, and if you had money to market it, it could be worldwide in a week.
Yeah.
You know, we have to go the broke approach, use hashtags, this. 10 years later, someone might find it, you know. But if you actually have the money to finance something, you know, that's how things get started.
Man, when I was working construction, company, my grandfather's company, he did a lot of stuff like Lafayette, Danville, Orinda, a lot of big custom homes. I was always so intrigued because you'd go out to like this multi-million-dollar house in Orinda or something, and you'd see the guy, he has a truck in the driveway, and he's like a city worker. And I'm like, this guy's making $100,000 a year living in a $3 million home. It just doesn't make sense. And you get to talking to him, and it was always the seemed like 90% of the time it was always, you know, I bought a house when I was young, and I flipped it and made some money, and then did it again, and now, you know, we own 4 or 5 homes, and like you said, it seems like once you have that initial chunk, you got a lot more options and stuff, which I've never really had that big chunk where I could take those risks yet, you know. Yeah. Definitely working toward it though.
Absolutely. Every day is the grind, you know. I'm trying to figure it out.
I've invested a lot. I've been, you know, maxing out the 401 since I was real young. Yeah. Got a little cushion there, but
so that's something. So we're talking about retirement, 401k, you know, put in money, paying yourself. I think that gets misconstrued. Pay yourself first. Yeah. And like, okay, I'm gonna take the money and go do something for myself. I think for me, pay yourself first means make sure you're saving for your retirement.
You know, and that 401's a double-edged sword too, because I mean, everyone saw it in the last couple of years. I would have been better off just buying something with that money. It would have lost less than it did in that 401. But you know, no one has a crystal ball. I mean, I've seen both sides of that though, because I've invested money and I've picked people's brains on stocks and stuff and put a little money in and watched it, you know, triple or quadruple real quick. But I've seen it crumble as quick too.
So if you think, so let's say you're putting $100 in a 401k and then you stop that. So do you think you would still invest that $100 or would you have spent it on other things? Because, you know, like when you work a job, you have a set plan. So it's like, okay, you're going to take $250 every 2 weeks. So that's $500 a month. If you had it in your pocket, like all these years to max out, do you think you would have made that decision? Or would you like, you know, I'm going to go ahead and do this with that? So
I wouldn't have spent it personally unless I absolutely had to. Because like I said, I'm pretty frugal. Yeah. I mean, I laugh at it all the time on the Facebook and stuff. You'll get a 12 years ago on this day memory thing pop up, and I'll be wearing the same shirt I'm wearing that same day or something, you know. And I always laugh at stuff like that. But I you know, like I said, even day one starting PG&E and in the plumbers union, I maxed the retirement out, and I remember an old timer telling me, if you do it on day one, you'll never notice the difference, which I thought was good advice, because I could always see that. I couldn't see putting 5% in on day one and then ever being a time in my life saying, well, you know, I got more money than I need, I'm going to go to 10. Like, I just went full
maxed all the way
at
up
the beginning, and that's kind of what I live off of, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
hopefully that pays off down the road.
It will. And then, because even like I have my, it's called TSP where I work, but like even like right now, me and my wife just made the decision we paid off some bills. I'm like, you know what? Let's not take the money back in the house. I'd rather just live the way we're frugal, struggle a little bit, put that money, start an index fund, you know, because I think you just have to. It's like, you know, we could go buy a car. That's why I put, I'm like, we could go get the new car payment. We could go do this, or we've already been without the money. Just let it just stay away.
I've read it over and over and over on. I read and you know, research finance stuff. That's probably my number one search on Google. But the cars are the absolute worst investment you can.
They're not investments.
Worst money you can spend. I mean, if you want to make 50,000 turn to 10 real quick, a car is the best way to do it. And
it's just trying to keep up with the Joneses, and that's why I'm like, I think it's smarter to like drive. I got a bucket, you know. I don't care, you know. And she has a nicer car, and then you know, take that money and just make it just keep it away. I'm like, because I gave her the math. I'm like, in 12 years, this is how much it's going to be, plus interest.
And what's that car going to be in 12 years?
It's nothing.
Nothing.
Or anything you buy it with. Let's say you just took the money in the house. Okay, now we have $500 extra. It's not going to be nothing. But in 12 years, like when it's time to retire, like, you know, because you can only retire early, like if it makes sense.
Right.
So it's like we take that money plus that money, and then I'm also working still. I can leave.
We got a little different situation too, because my wife's actually in a spot where she can make as much, if not more.
She's a nurse, right?
She's a nurse, yeah. And she worked up until our second kid was born, but I don't know how familiar you guys are with childcare and stuff. It's just
I've got bad experiences.
and even with two, we have three now, so it was a no brainer. But even with two, just the stress and the money and everything, it just didn't we kind of looked at it and ran a whole bunch of numbers, and we had to sit on it for months to finally pull the trigger. But it just didn't work for us real good with the childcare because
not only are you paying, you're working to just pay that person, but the care, unless you know the person, like it's your mom or your sister, it's a job. So that person treats it like a job. And I just had bad experiences with someone treating it like a job and leaving my kid to like fry, and I'm like, oh no.
And then we had a few predicaments we got in. Like for me, I get a pretty decent amount of overtime opportunity at PG&E where I'm making, quite a bit of money. Yeah. And there was a lot of scenarios where I'd have to turn down an overtime shift because she was working. Yeah. So she'd be making her normal rate, and I'm missing overtime. Yeah. So she could go make her. I'm like, we're missing $100 an hour to make 50. Right. And we started just weighing the numbers, and then, you're in different tax brackets, right. And then another thing we noticed was, we were paying, I think it was $15,000 a year in childcare, and with two of us working, the more you made, you don't get to write that off. Right. You get in a different level or whatever, and there's no tax deductions for childcare. So it was just and to be honest, man, she hasn't worked. It's been about 4 or 5 years now, and it doesn't. We're just as comfortable now as we were then, I would say.
Now, can I ask you a question? Do you think that she's more happy because she's in her true? I think moms are awesome. Like when they get to not have to worry about that stress factor. So it's like you worry about the stress factor.
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, I got to give my wife all the credit in the world. She as a mother, dots every I, crosses every T. Yeah. She does not, almost too much sometimes, because she puts herself on the back burner a lot. And that's not a flaw, but she's so zoned in on the kids being, getting everything they could possibly need and stuff, that she forgets about herself sometimes. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think, and I've never been there, so I can't speak on it from experience, but I think, she feels like sometimes oh, I'm not bringing home an income. I'm not, and I definitely don't feel that way. I mean, she does more than her share, but I could see personally how that can make you feel like insufficient or something, Do
you think that's because of social media, or do you think that's?
I don't know. I
think that it's more work.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I was a stay-at-home dad for 3 months. It's a lot of work. I'm like, I'd rather go work.
I agree. I agree.
So it's I think they kind of do more. Running a house.
I think it's more of just a personal income. It's just you can't put a number on it. I think maybe Yeah. Because she's not necessarily bringing home a paycheck every week, but it doesn't mean she's not working. But I don't know if that always registers in her head. Yeah.
I hear you. So,
and I think that creates sometimes tension between the two of us because it's we're in the situation where we kind of gotta both do those extremes. I need to work the overtime and be gone a little more if only one of us is working. Right. But at the same time, I hate leaving her with that load on her plate. Right. And our schedule gets, with the kids and stuff, gets pretty hectic sometimes.
So do you think when the kids are old enough, what's your oldest son name?
Briar.
When Briar is old enough to be home, do you think she'll go back to work, or
you
guys talked about that?
We've already talked about it. We don't have nothing set in stone yet, but I think she's itching to. I think in a dream world we'd both kind of work more normal.
You work less overtime
or work maybe part time or something would probably be a ideal situation. It's just to make that jive is almost impossible. So we kind of just came to the decision where I'm gonna take everything they throw at me, hold it down at home. Yeah. We hit breaking points sometimes. I mean, I had a stretch November, December where I was 100+ hours a week for weeks on end. Yeah. Checks were good. They're holding us over right now, but on her end, there's no downtime. Yeah. But it's like, what other options
Option
you
do you
got,
have?
you know?
Yeah, that's how we kind of do. Well, she has her business, but like she was working at Amazon like 2 a.m. some weird shift so she can be home. And she was always tired. I'm like, well, if I'm working, because it's not that much money, so it's like I'm still working the overtime because I get paid more. So we're both tired. I'm like, you know what? I got it. I'll get a second job. You just run the house, run your business, focus on that, grow it. So that way she's home because we're just tired. Like she was going to work because she wants the income. You know, okay, how about I just pay for your school? So she's just got her license, and she's able to do this, and I'm hoping that can turn into a salon or so. Just because I think women want to make. It doesn't matter how much it is; they just want their own money.
Yeah.
That's why I really
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it
yeah.
is. It's like you can put her in $1 million house and pay for it all, and it's still not going to be enough
It's
because
just-
she wants to have her
it's-
own.
yeah,
Like I want to go
this
buy a purse. I want to
sense
go
of
buy
accomplishment kind of thing.
something. Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
And I feel like
I'm starting to understand that because I'm like,
I've never been on the flip side of that.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'd probably be the same way.
Yeah.
You know?
absolutely. I mean, it's just I think it's hard for men to understand that because I have to accept that,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm like, no matter what I can do and the accomplishments I bring, it's not yours. So I can see you feeling the type of way. So okay, this is yours now.
That's something I am not the best at. Is I guess kind of like I was telling my dad. I kind of look at things like, hey, this is what's got to be done. We got to do it.
Yeah.
End a sentence. I don't always think about the feelings and
Yeah.
how this person's feeling and how it fits in with this person's life. I'm like, all right, I got to go to work. All right,
Yeah.
handle your business.
Yeah.
Where I could probably be a little more understanding, empathetic. Sometimes it's definitely not my strong point.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard. Especially because men are logic and
Yeah,
women are more emotional driven.
I'm very, I think that's probably why I really, excelled at bodybuilding and stuff. I'm very structured.
Yeah.
Like, and it's pretty effortless for me, to be honest. Like, I don't know. I don't do a lot of stuff that doesn't have a purpose,
Yeah.
And it's a gift and a curse, though, I think.
Yeah. To the people out there right now who are struggling, going through a bad time, and don't know what to do, what would you tell them?
Just in general, not any specific situation.
Nope, just a person who's Googled how to get better and we popped up.
Well, I think the main thing is your outlook on everything. I got a great example of that, actually. Speaking of my wife, about 3 or 4 years ago, she got involved in this program. I can't remember the name of it, but it's around Christmas time. They find some families that are struggling, going through a hard time, maybe less fortunate or whatever, that aren't going to have a Christmas. Everyone rounds up donations and money, and they make a Christmas happen for a family or two. And this one time, this past year, she actually, I don't know the behind the scenes of it, but she actually ended up taking it over this year, and she was kind of the head of it. So she actually reached out to the families, heard some stories, chose a few, and she told me about this one, like the night before we were going to go deliver the gifts and stuff. She told me the whole background story, and this family was like, I don't remember the exact details, but they had a couple of kids. One has like cancer. One's got some crazy disease that they can't quite pinpoint, and they're in and out of the hospital constantly. One day just recently they were coming from one of the hospital trips, got T-boned in the car. Like you couldn't write a book like just the bad luck or scenarios that had been happening just over and over and over to them. And so we go to this house, right? And I'm thinking there's going to be this family that's just a train wreck, And these people were the most, like, the kids were as happy as can be. Like, the mom and dad were super upbeat and positive. I ended up following them on the social media, and everything's just positive. And, like, just the other day I was watching in the one daughter or something's in, like, a 3-month, she's staying in the hospital for, like, 3 months. Like, the parents have to come and go, but she's actually living there. They pulled her out of the normal house. It just sounds like if you ever had a reason to be down and out, depressed, like they have it, and they're not. And I was like, man, something you think about, like on your hard days. I'm like, God, I complained that I had to work an extra shift or something, Like, there's people. It's all your outlook, I'd say. And then you see the other end of it, like you see the people on social media that seem like they got everything in the world going for them, and they're complaining because, you know, the air conditioner went out and it's poor me, poor me, poor me. The world's over, you know. Yeah. So I think it's just all a matter of how you look at things, focus on the positives. You know, seems like everything always seems to, as much as we don't want to think it, it always works out. And I think every scenario, no matter how bad it is, you can find a good or a lesson from it. So try to focus on that kind of stuff. I mean, I know I've had my own hard times and struggles and stuff, and go back and look at them, and you learn from them. Yeah. Something good came out of it some way or another.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be
change your outlook.
Yep.
Have a positive outlook no matter what.
And everything. I think that's you know, you can make things good or bad depending on how you look at them.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think something about we're millennials. Our generation knows that, and it's like the new generations. I think they're more. I don't want to say sensitive, but just more in need of support.
Yeah. I could see that. I could totally see
you know,
that.
Where, you know...
It's just the whole culture in general. Kind of like we were talking about the gym stuff earlier. Like, you know, a lot of those gyms have no judgment zones. And the sports have the participant... Everybody gets a trophy type thing. Like, that's, you know, that's a whole different mindset than before.
Yeah. Any last words?
No. Like I said, I totally like what you got going, man. I kind of envy you in a way because I've always... been interested in stuff, and I just never jumped off the porch and pulled the trigger like you're doing right now. So I hope everything keeps going the way it's going. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And honestly, I wouldn't. My wife pushed me because I kept saying. She's like, "I thought you said you're going to be on YouTube. I thought you said you're going to do this. Like, are you going to do it or what?" Stay home and do her nails. For real. But like, she just really awesome, she motivated me to pull the trigger. And then what really changed it was it was like August. I looked at the calendar, and I believe in God. I'm a real religious person. Mm-hmm. The first was on a Sunday. So I was like, oh, January 1st is Sunday? Like God's day? Like, okay, I got this. You want me to do this? All right. And I put everything in play, and I barely made the deadline. And then the deadline came, and I made it, and I just kept going, you know. I'm always looking at little signs and stuff like that myself. Yeah. I do stuff like that. But myself. I think if it was like a Tuesday, I don't know if I would have pushed. So I really pushed so hard. I had like the guy come do the editing. I'm like, it has to be done. It's God's day. Like, this is a sign. Sunday, January 1st is on a Sunday. Like, I have to do it. And I just kept telling people that, so they're so supportive. Like, yeah, let's go. And we made the cutoff barely. Yeah. Barely. Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah. That's cool. So what's the game plan moving forward? What's the next move or whatever? Just finishing season 1. You know, so season 1, I try to do it like a TV show. So like, this is the end. We're almost done. So that way I can be done with this part. Because it's time consuming editing and all this stuff. And then I want to go like meet people. So I want to go out with cards. Like, hey, I have a podcast. I'm trying to help the world. Here's a card. Can you scan it? Can you subscribe? So I can try to get monetized by season 2. Yeah. So the goal is just to go on tour. Are you doing all the platforms and stuff? Yeah. That seems like it's a lot of work, huh? Yeah. It gets overwhelming at times because, like, you know, I'm just doing it by myself as far as the editing and everything like that. But I see it's bigger than me. You know, I truly believe that this can help someone years to come, you know, because I don't think YouTube's going to go nowhere. Like, these platforms are going to be here for the rest of our lives, like books. So it's like these stories, someone can watch this 20 years from now and get motivation from it, you know? So it's like, I feel like it's just bigger. Like, it's bigger than my excuses. So I just do it. And what I want to do is finish this, edit it all, put it out so it just comes out by itself. I want to go on tour. You know, you write a book, you have an album, you go on tour, you go meet people, meet and greets. So I just want to drive. Like, for me, it's to be low budget. So I'll go like to Monterey and just be outside. Like, that's why I'm getting this shit, you know, and then like shake hands. That's all it takes sometimes. You got one person. Yeah. You know, you hear that all the time. You just got to go outside. Like, you know, you can't spend the whole time on the internet. So it's like the job is done, and then I have like a catalog for people to go back and look. So when they scan the QR code, because now you just scan a QR code, you can pop everything up. So, you know, you go shake someone's hand, scan the QR code, get them to subscribe, and then, you know, they can go back and see everything. And I think I think you got the right mindset, because we were talking, I don't even know if the camera was rolling yet, and we were talking about regrets or whatever. Yeah. And I was saying that's the one thing, I don't have any regrets actually, bodybuilding wise or anything really, I'd say. It was all learning. But if I could rewind the clock, I had a lot of opportunities early social media days before any of this stuff was really a hit. Where I could have been a part of a lot of this stuff, and before anyone knew it was going to be
what it is.
And I was in the peak of my bodybuilding right at that stage, and you know, a lot of times I had, hey, do you want to go work this booth or whatever next weekend? And I got to train. And I don't know, is it going to pay me any money at the time? Nah, I'm good. Like, and I passed up a lot of stuff. And not because I was lazy, but I always had a normal job and stuff going. So
it was hard to see that this is what it'd be.
But looking back on it now, I'm like, man, I think a lot of those opportunities. I mean, I had a lot of good ones that I just didn't really capitalize on. And, but like I said, you live and you learn, and I don't have any regrets. It's just, you know, if I could rewind the clock, that's something I'd tell somebody moving forward is that window on stage is small. And I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people that I destroyed on stage that now might be a online trainer or have some kind of business fitness related that they were putting in a lot more work off the stage and it panned out, where I'm not doing a whole lot bodybuilding wise anymore. I mean, I love it and I still train and eat and everything, but I didn't make much of a business out of it, where I think I could have done a little more. So
I mean, you still can.
Yeah, and that's something I still it's still in the works. I still have some ideas. Like I said, I'm not in a position right now where I can step away from anything, and I don't have very many extra hours in the day. But
I think what I can, like, so you already created the stimulus besides the wife and the kids of working hard. So you know the stimulus that it takes. So one day it's like, you know, let's say your wife did go back to work and you don't have to work the overtime. You've been working 100 hours so long that now you can put the extra time into something else. So like, I think that you're being primed, because like I had to create my own like, this is the only, I didn't know how hard it was, but I created the stimulus. I was working 2 jobs, paying for my wife's school and getting ready for a show, to where I stopped working security, but I kept the stimulus going, because I'm like, I've been working this many hours.
Yeah,
like,
it's embedded.
40 is not enough. 40 is not enough, because I've been doing this for a year straight. So now I need to do this for the other 4 hours. It might not pay right now, but you know, it's bigger than that, you know, because later on it can.
It's something that gets ingrained in you for sure.
Yeah.
I noticed it over like this crazy storm we had a couple weeks ago.
Right.
I was off 1 or 2 of those days, and we're sitting at home. And I'm like, man, this is like when you're working like crazy. All you think about, man, I'd like to just be chilling or sitting at home doing nothing, and you do it, and this ain't for me. You know, I can't go outside right now. I'd rather go to work or do something. So
I think you can still do anything. All those ideas you have, you can still do it.
Yeah, I just don't have a. It's not. I don't have a set in stone idea that I'm. I got a lot of little things. I don't know if I want to go into details or whatever, but you know, I've had a few things that I've done in the fitness industry that I really thoroughly enjoyed. That I'd love to, you know, proceed more. I kind of did the online trainer coach thing, which I had some absolutely incredible experiences with, and then I had some that I just didn't care for, and I kind of realized that I don't think that's something I could do full time, because I liked the people that, and it was mostly, you know, friends and stuff that I knew prior, knew kind of had a similar mindset to me, knew would put in the work. You tell them to do something, they do it, and the final product was lights out. Like it was awesome to see them go on stage or get in the kind of shape they wanted to get in or whatever. That was awesome. But then you had other people that paid you their money. You knew after talking to them they didn't follow everything to the T, and then you're kind of putting your name on them. I didn't really care for that. Like, I don't want someone walking around saying, "Hey, Brett did my diet," and they're not
doing the diet.
Right, and that's just. But from a business perspective, I mean, you got to take everybody you can get if you want to be successful. So that's not. I got a lot of pride, and I want, you know, if they're saying Brett did my diet, I want them to be have a distinct look or results, you know.
Yeah.
So that's something that's kind of I weigh out, and then I that's something I've always been interested in, though. I like that. And then another thing I always enjoyed was I've seen it firsthand. You probably have too. I mean, I grew up in Antioch. You know, there's some great people. There's some not so great people. And I've, you know, started working out or met people in the gym who maybe their life wasn't go in the right direction, you know, and picked my brain a little bit on working out or intrigued by the bodybuilding stuff, and ended up becoming something they were interested in and kind of got them on a straight path. So I always, you know, was thinking some kind of youth program or something that could maybe grab. I mean, you kind of saw like what Najee Harris did for the community, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he, you know, was a kid that didn't grow up in the best area and became NFL superstar. And I think that, like a lot of kids, I bet you there's a lot of kids that are thinking, man, I'd like to, you know, I'm going to stay out of trouble because I want to be like Najee, you know?
Yeah.
And I always kind of thought that was a route I'd like to take too for the bodybuilding stuff, because I think it intrigues a lot of the youth that might be able to keep them on a straight and narrow path and deter them from drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
Because, you know, partying and drugs and stuff and bodybuilding don't really
mix together.
So, yeah.
Well, Brett, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I love this stuff.
All right. This is Boys to Men. We'll get back.